In Argentina, the president of Grandmothers of Plaza de Mayo, Estela de Carlotto, was hospitalized after suffering from poisoning, but doctors confirmed that her condition was improving and that she is now at home in good health. In the United States, Senate Democrats voted down Tuesday a Republican bill to keep funding the government, putting it in a near-certain path to a shutdown after midnight Wednesday for the first time in nearly 7 years. Palestine resistance movement Hamas assesses a ceasefire agreement in the Palestinian territories proposed by U.S. President Donald Trump. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Sophie Fernandez from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Argentina, the president of Grandmothers of Plaza de Mayo, Estela de Carlotto, was hospitalized after suffering from poisoning, but doctors confirmed that her condition was improving and that she is now at home in good health. According to reports from Grandmothers of Plaza de Mayo, Carlotto had to be admitted to hospitals as a precautionary measure to be hydrated and monitored. The doctors who treated her confirmed that her condition is not serious and that she was able to stabilize quickly. The leader, who will turn 95 on October 22nd, remained lucid throughout the process and will continue with routine checkups. Despite her age, Estela maintains a busy public schedule, and in 2014 she recovered her grandson, Ignacio Montoya Carlotto. In other news, in Mexico, during her morning press conference on Tuesday, President Claudia Sheinbaum rejected the treatment received by the Mexican migrants on parts of the United States authorities and said that the guarantee of their safety is a responsibility of the U.S. government.
What we do is show our disagreement and fight for justice. The guarantee of the safety of Mexicans in the United States is the job of the United States government itself. If there is a violation, then we intervene by protecting Mexicans through the consular means available and with our support if they want to file a complaint. In all the forums in which we are present, in all of them, including the President, it is our job to defend Mexicans abroad.
Moving now to Ecuador, where students and social organizations are calling for a mobilization on Tuesday as part of the protest against the increase in the price of diesel. Student unions of the Central University of Ecuador, supported by environmental groups, artists and social movements, called for a mobilization in the Plaza Indoamérica in Quito. The call is in addition to the protests promoted by the Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities of Ecuador, whose mobilization has gained special strength in the province of Imbabura in recent days. The demonstrations in rejection of the executive's decision to eliminate the diesel subsidy have extended for 9 consecutive days, while those affected say they will continue on the streets until their demands are met. Meanwhile, the Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities of Ecuador, CONAIE, intensified its demands by calling for the impeachment of Defense Minister Giancarlo Lofredo and Interior Minister John Reinberg for the violence that occurred during the national strike protest. During a session of the National Assembly's Constitutional Guarantees and Human Rights Committee, CONAIE President Marlon Vargas reiterated the organization's firm stance against its abuses by the government. A second death was confirmed in the context of the protests, heightening tensions in the country. This incident comes on top of the murder of an indigenous leader on Sunday, September 28th, whose brutal took place on the same day as the hearing, according to testimony presented. In other news, the United Nations Security Council approved expanded the international security force deployed to Haiti and transforming into a so-called gang repression force. According to the resolution, the force will have a mandate of 12 months and will work with local authorities to neutralize, isolate and deter gangs, secure infrastructure and seek to secure institutional stability. The resolution raises the ceiling of the force personnel from 2,500 to 5,550. The text also requests that the UN Secretary General establish a UN support office in Haiti to provide increased logistical support amid the Caribbean nations' overlapping security, humanitarian and political crisis. The resolution was approved by 12 votes in favor and none against, while Permanent Security Council members China and Russia, along with rotating member Pakistan, abstained from the vote. And now we have a short break coming up. But first, remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In the United States, Senate Democrats voted on Tuesday a Republican bill to keep funding the government, putting it in a near certain path to a shutdown after midnight Wednesday, for the first time in nearly 7 years. The Senate rejected the legislation as Democrats are making good on their threat to close the government if President Donald Trump and Republicans won't accede to their health care demands. The 55-45 votes on a bill to extend federal funding for 7 weeks fell short on the 60 needed to end a filibuster and pass the legislation. After the vote, the White House Office on Management and Budget issued a memo saying that affected agencies should now execute their plans for an orderly shutdown. Congress' failure to keep funding the government could lead to laying off of hundreds of thousands of federal workers. In other news in Venezuela, the commander-in-chief of the Bolivarian Armed Forces, Nicolás Maduro, led the master class on the occasion of the opening of the 2025-2026 academic year at the Bolivarian Military University of Venezuela. Maduro declared that the backbone of the country's military revolutionary process is driven by the Bolivarian Military University of Venezuela. Maduro emphasized that the country today has a strong state, supported by the 5 powers established in the Constitution. However, he emphasized that there are 2 additional powers, which are the empowered and active peoples power and the military power, which has been built up over the years in a united manner. On the other hand, the president welcomed the international support in the face of U.S. aggressions in the region. During the event, the president received the title of Doctor Honoris Causa in National Security, in recognition of the outstanding role he has played in firmly and courageously defending the territorial integrity of Venezuela.
Authentically national and very deeply. Fortunately, thanks to our Commander Chavez and the brilliant minds of an entire people, Venezuela has a geopolitical vision and brilliant diplomacy. Last week was the 80th session, 80 years since the creation of the United Nations Organization, and thanks to that clear persevering vision and a brilliant diplomacy of peace, we had absolute success with resounding support from all regions, from the overwhelming majority of the countries for our right to sovereignty and peace.
During his speech, the Venezuelan president highlighted that despite the U.S. aggression, the country continues its development through projects that address all key sectors of the nation.
Plans to continue opening paths and clearing the threats, but there are also 7 fronts of advancement in the construction of a new economy, with 13 engines that manifest themselves in a way that is very important in its capacity of production, in its capacity of regenerating and to satisfy the necessities of the nation. 7 fronts of advancement in the social aspect, to pay attention to the youth, to the kids, to the grandparents, to the men, to the women, to pay attention to an entire people in their necessities of education, of health, of life, of home, of feeding.
Also in Venezuela, the National Assembly presented a draft agreement on the protection and defense of the honor of the Venezuelan fishermen and fisherwomen in the Caribbean Sea, aiming at strengthening the peace in the region. During the ordinary session of the National Assembly, the President of the legislative body, Jorge Rodriguez, condemned the attacks perpetrated by the United States forces against fishing boats in the Caribbean Sea, denouncing them as a flagrant violation of the fundamental rights of all human beings. In this regard, he reiterated that Venezuela is a territory free of the cultivation, processing, and distribution of narcotics. In turn, Rodriguez condemned the false narratives imposed by Washington against the Venezuelan people, which seek to justify the escalation of imperialist aggressions that the United States has maintained against the South American nation.
That New York Times editorial says that what they are doing with these boats in the Caribbean is a moral stain for the Army of the United States of America. It's a moral stain because it goes against absolutely all the international legal regulations on maritime matters, and it goes against the most elementary rights of the human being, the right to defense, the right to life, the right to free transit, and the right to economic activity. Because they brag about it. Secretary Rubio said it, we blew them up. They are human beings. There is no way of knowing if they were drug traffickers or not, because according to Rubio, the drug was diluted in the sea, and is out there. Go and look for it. That's what he said, we blew them up. The same thing that Adolf Hitler said. The same thing that Hermann Goering said. The commodification of the human being. It's turning the human being into bundles, into things, into disposable beings, including the US citizens who suffer from opiate addiction, and who suffer from drug addiction, and who at this time cannot receive treatment because of budget cuts.
In this sense, the President of the National Assembly of Venezuela, Jorge Rodriguez, denounced the involvement of Ecuadorian President Daniel Noboa and former Colombian President Álvaro Uribe in cocaine trafficking across the Pacific Ocean.
There are people happy with this poorly told story, with these lies, with these slanders. The drug trafficker Daniel Noboa, who continues to take cocaine out of the country hidden in the banana boxes he exports. Of course there are people happy. The Colombian drug trafficker Álvaro Uribe must have thrown a party at his estate, because 85% of all the drugs, in the form of cocaine, I'm not talking about fentanyl, that reach the United States of America pass through the Pacific Ocean, go out via the Pacific Ocean. And while those boats are looking for a casus belli in the Caribbean, violating the historic peaceful condition of that sea since the countries of America achieved their independence, the real free traffic of drugs remains untouched. There are drug routes in the United States of America. That's what they are. The narco-trafficking clans divide among themselves the most important avenues and highways that cross the United States of America from north to south and from east to west.
And now we have a second short break coming up. Before, we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break coming, but we'll be right back with more from the South. Don't go away. Welcome back. Hamas resistance movement assesses a ceasefire agreement in the Palestinian territories proposed by U.S. President Donald Trump. The proposal was presented by Egypt and Qatar to Hamas, and it was emphasized that the movement's negotiators will approach it in a responsible manner. For its part, the White House announced that the plan was discussed with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who said he was the support of the leaders of the Arab and Islamic countries. In response to the proposal, Hamas negotiators said that their mediators will study the plan and submit a response to it. Meanwhile, the International Global Summit flotilla bound for the Gaza Strip enters the interception zone of the Israeli occupation and is approached by Israeli vessels in recent hours. According to their Instagram account, the humanitarian flotilla was approached by an Israeli military vessel, intimidating the group of activists and damaging the communication system of the leader vessels Alma and Sirius. The group of more than 50 civilian vessels heading for Gaza with humanitarian aid crossed the naval boundary set by Israel without the company of military ships from Spain or Italy. The flotilla declared their intention to break the blockade through a non-violent, symbolic and humanitarian action. Also, the crew informed that drone activity has increased over the flotilla as it entered the high-risk zone, the area where previous flotillas have been attacked and/or intercepted. In Mexico, 11 municipalities in Jalisco have reported damage from a storm due to flooding and rising streams and rivers. In light of the situation, the governor of Jalisco, Pablo Lemus Lavarrose, committed to support those affected and making budget relocations to assist them. Lemus assured that mitigation efforts will be strengthened throughout the construction of a regular reservoir in the Colmena de Miramar area. With these measures, the state government seeks to immediately respond to current emergencies and, at the same time, move forward with preemptive infrastructure to reduce the risk of flooding in the city. In other news, Bermuda closed its schools, government offices and international airports in anticipation of the imminent arrival of Hurricane Imelda, which is expected to hit the island late Wednesday with sustained winds of Category 1. The Minister of National Security, Michael Wickens, announced at a press conference that Hurricane Imelda will bring sustained winds for at least 6 hours, accompanied by heavy rains that could cause power outage. Schools, government's office and the airport will remain closed, while bus and ferry services have been suspended. In addition, an emergency shelter has been set up to protect the population. The 27th Santo Domingo International Book Fair is being held in the Dominican Republic in honor of the renowned Dominican historian Frank Moya Pons. This year, the event guest of honor is the Latin American Literary Fairs and Festivals Network. The festival will continue until October 5th, with its 15 thematic sections, conferences, and more than 120 exhibition spaces, with the aim of continuing to bring reading to all audiences, with a special attention to school children and children in order to strengthen their experiences and creativity. And in China, the Beijing Palace Museum hosted a special exhibition to celebrate the centennial, with a total of 200 cultural relics that captivated all attendees. This exhibition, divided into 3 sections, highlights the evolution of the ancient imperial palace into the current museum and its cultural legacy. Notable pieces include relics such as 5 oxen along the river during Qingming Festival and the rectangular lotus and crane Hu. The latter piece was restored due to its great historical significance. Currently, the museum has implemented digital technology to improve the conservation of its works and the visitor experience, including an immersive viewing space that uses 3D technology to show the relics and their artisanal details. Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media. We're on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Sophie Fernandez. Thank you for watching.